Welcome back with my friend.
Stefan.
Today it's kind of old school week, or at least that's what we made of it. And why not search or look at some history of the Philippines like we did the last couple of weeks. I think we're gonna do that on Wednesday, like a stick time frame, but this week is special, kind of. And we're watching the history of the Philippines in 12 minutes. So
Whole history into
the whole history. I'm sure they're gonna cut it a lot and maybe too much information.
Some knowledge bombs coming up. Yeah.
So let's just start straight away and hopefully we'll learn something. Let's go.
Yes.
Let's go!
And like always, the link is down below. And let's just go.
The history of what is today the Philippines started with the arrival of its first humans. It is believed they used rafts or boats
12
around
minutes?
60,000 years ago.
It's gonna be a lot, bro.
Groups of diverse
many
people
thousands?
settling in the archipelago. Some of these groups started to develop and expand into bigger settlements, and in the next thousands of years, they evolved into what some scholars believe to be considered early states. Austronesians and afterwards speakers of the Malayo-Polynesian languages began to arrive in successive waves beginning about 4000 BC. According to the existing evidence, a jade culture existed on these lands, starting with the Neolithic era. By 1000 BC, it is believed that the inhabitants of the archipelago
skipping a
had
lot of
developed into
years.
4 distinct kinds
12
of
minutes.
people:
Yeah.
tribal groups, warrior societies, the petty plutocracy, and the harbor civilizations.
Okay.
Also important to note is the fact that the metallurgy reached the archipelago due to trade with India. Around 300 to 700 AD, the seafaring people of the islands began to trade with the Indianized kingdoms in the Malay archipelago and the nearby East Asian principalities, adopting
Yeah.
influences from both Buddhism
Okay.
and Hinduism.
Of course, India.
Some cultures of present-day Vietnam showed evidence of an extensive trade network. Artifacts and goods were traded, such as glass, agate, or gold. There were also other items
Nearby
present in
countries.
the region which were most likely imported, including ear ornaments that have been found in archaeological sites in the Philippines, Thailand, and Taiwan. The Indian culture influenced the Southeast Asian region, starting with the 1st century. During the period of the South Indian Pallava dynasty and the North Indian Gupta Empire, Indian culture spread to Southeast Asia, and it reached the Philippines, which led to the establishment of new kingdoms largely influenced by the Indian culture and traditions. The date inscribed in the oldest
Internet.
Philippine document
No,
found so
you don't see
far,
any of
the
that back.
Laguna copperplate inscription, is 900 AD. From the details of the document, written in Kawi script, the bearer of a debt,
Oh,
the script?
Warren, along with his
Yeah.
children, is cleared of a debt by the ruler of
One
Tun.
sec.
You want to read it?
No. I was just looking at because if the Babine has like the plus and the symbols underneath it,
Yeah.
or
the
the dots,
and the
the dots or the
pluses.
plus, so I don't see that. So maybe it's a different kind of script again.
Yeah, but you do see like the organic kind of shapes.
Maybe they evolved or changed, or
Yeah, early forms. But you do have the dots.
I have
every
to
now and there.
focus in because he's like going quick. How many thousands of years are we here for? In like 2 minutes 29. All right. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Focus.
Stay focused.
No, this is the earliest document that shows the use of mathematics in pre-colonial Philippine societies. A standard system of weights and measures is also demonstrated by the use of precise measurement for gold and other items, as well as in astronomy. From the various
like
Sanskrit terms and
malaria?
titles seen in the document, the culture and society of the Manila Bay were that of Hindu Old Malay amalgamation, similar to the cultures of Java, Peninsular Malaysia, and Sumatra at the time. In the years leading up to 1000, there were already
Our
several
neighbors.
maritime societies existing in the islands, but there was no unifying political state encompassing the entire Philippine
Yeah.
archipelago.
Piece.
Instead, the region was divided into numerous semi-autonomous city-states under the rule of the plutocracy,
Makes
while a
sense.
number of states existed alongside the highland societies. These smaller structures alternated between being part of or being influenced by larger Asian empires like Maya Pahit. Around
Never heard of
1225, the nation of Mai, a Buddhist pre-Hispanic Philippine island state
Visayas.
centered in Mindoro, flourished, attracting traders and shipping from the kingdom of Ryukyu to the Empire of Japan.
Nice.
Chao Jakua, a customs inspector in Fujian province, China, wrote the description of the barbarous
Cool
peoples,
render.
describing trade with this pre-colonial state. Its
Never heard of
people
it
were
before.
noted for their honesty in trade. Much of what is
Like
now
next level.
Indonesia was
Yeah.
ruled by the Hindu Maya Pahit
Focus.
Empire. During the 1300s, this empire ruled over Luzon Island and the Sulu archipelago. As more
Luzon.
and more influence was on
Right.
these islands, skirmishes and battles also existed. Some local tribes were waging incessant guerrilla warfare
it's
against
mainly
them.
the
Eventually,
coast
the
areas.
kingdoms of Luzon regained independence from Maya Pahit after the Battle of Manila, 1365. Sulu also re-established independence, and in vengeance, assaulted the Maya Pahit province of Brunei before a
Ano ba?
fleet from the capital drove them out. The
Brunei.
start of the Islamic era in Indonesia set the collapse of the Maya Pahites as its provinces eventually seceded and became independent sultanates. In 1380, Makdum Karim, an Arab trader born in Johor, arrived in Sulu from Malacca and brought
Ottoman
Islam
Empire?
to the Philippines. Additionally, Sharif ul Hashim, an Arab Muslim explorer, established the Sultanate of Sulu by converting its previous ruler, the Hindu king Raja Baguinda, to Islam and then
they
marrying
became
his
Islam,
daughter.
okay, yeah,
The
yeah.
Sultanate of Maguindanao rose to prominence at the end of the 15th century. Meanwhile, the religion was
black. Full yellow.
And I still think that like the
There's a lot of
the
info.
southern part is still Islamic. That's the only part
Yeah,
that isn't
yeah.
Catholic. So that still remains from probably from that era.
From this
Yeah.
history.
We learned something, but
A lot of influences in shaping the Philippines.
yeah,
Alright.
and we haven't seen the Spanish or the
I-
Americans yet. I think if he's gonna do that,
Yeah. The Hindu and Buddhist influence
didn't
you
know.
don't see at all
No.
when you go to the Philippines nowadays.
then again, I think
He
Well,
was talking
this-
about 6000 BC.
yeah, it's so long ago, and
Yeah.
some parts are already recovered by like the Spanish and the Americans, so it's like Christian. And then I'm not sure if it's right, but that's what I am thinking.
It's
And
gonna
the,
come up in a few minutes probably, but yeah.
and the downside by the Muslims, so that's the
Yeah,
Hinduism
that's what I
taken out.
still
Yeah.
know and still is the
Yeah.
case, I think.
And I know for Mindanao. I haven't been
It's
there.
probably gonna reshape again
Yeah.
because what time frame
How
we on?
how many
at this
years
point?
are we in front? Okay.
Still BC.
introduced to the
Here we
area
go.
by Muslim missionaries and traders from the Middle East, Indian, and Malay regions who propagated Islam to Sulu
Who
and
are-
Maguindanao. As before, when Buddhist and Hindu cultures
Maguindanao?
influenced the archipelago, the same case happened with the Muslim culture. Upon the secession of Brunei from the Maya Pahit Empire, they imported the Arab emir from Mecca, Sharif Ali, and became an independent sultanate. The new religion started to grow roots in the Philippines through conquest and conversion of
Interesting.
local leaders in the next decades. Moreover, Islam was further strengthened by the
also
arrival to the Philippines
mainland.
of traders
Yeah.
and proselytizers from Malaysia and Indonesia.
Oh, here we go.
1521, the Spanish reached the archipelago through the expedition around the world, led by Portuguese-born
Crazy.
Spanish explorer
Yeah,
Ferdinand Magellan,
And that's what we know from the other episode.
claiming
Yeah.
the islands he saw for the Spanish Empire. He established friendly relations with some of the
Well,
local
something new.
leaders
Must-
and
yeah.
converted some of them to Roman
It's our
Catholicism.
land now.
Because the Philippines are a large
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
archipelago,
yeah.
the Spaniards started to explore many islands. However, the explorer Ferdinand Magellan was killed during the Battle of Mactan against the local ruler Lapu-Lapu. Over the next several decades, other Spanish expeditions were dispatched to the islands. In 1543, an expedition was led to the islands, naming them Philippines, in honor of Philip of Austria, who became Philip II of Spain on January 16, 1556. The name was then extended to the entire archipelago later on in the Spanish era. European colonization began in earnest when Spanish explorer Miguel López de Legazpi arrived from Mexico in 1565 and formed the first European settlements in Cebu. Through diplomatic and military annexation of some lands, incorporating local states including the Kingdom of Tondo, the Spaniards established Manila as the capital of the Spanish East Indies. In 1578, the Castilian War erupted between the Christian Spaniards and Muslim Bruneians over control of the Philippine archipelago. The Christian troops were so diverse due to generally being made up of people under the Spanish rule, including Native Americans, namely Aztecs, Mayans, and Incans, who were gathered and sent from Mexico and South America to be led by Spanish officers that had worked together with native Filipinos in military campaigns across Southeast Asia. The Muslim side was also very diverse though. They were supported by the Ottoman Empire, with their troops consisting of Malay warriors and expeditionary forces sent by the Ottomans, which included mainly Turks, Egyptians, Swahilis, Somalis, Indians, and others. The conflict ended with a status quo antebellum. Just 20 years after the conquest of Luzon, remarkable progress existed in the work of colonization of the islands and the spread of Christianity. A cathedral was built in the city of Manila with an episcopal palace. Other monasteries and churches were built across islands, and more people started to convert to Christianity. Furthermore, Spanish and Mexican families settled in the new lands, creating stronger communities. Much of the archipelago came under Spanish rule, creating the first unified political structure known as the Philippines. Spanish colonial rule saw the introduction of Christianity, the code of law, and the oldest modern university in Asia. The Philippines was ruled by the Mexico-based Viceroyalty of New Spain, and after, the colony was directly governed by Spain. Many of the local people revolted in the next centuries due to some abuses made by the Spanish authorities. Their rule ended after the American-Spanish War at the end of the 19th century in 1898. The Philippines became a territory of the United States. The United States then established the insular government to rule the Philippines. In 1907, the elected assembly was set up with popular elections. The U.S. promised independence in the Jones Act to the country, and the Philippine Commonwealth was established in 1935 as a 10-year interim step period to full independence. But before gaining total freedom, in 1942, during World War II, the Philippines was occupied by Japanese forces. By 1945, the U.S. liberated the Philippines, and the Treaty of Manila in 1946 established an independent Philippine Republic. The period of their independence was marked by internal skirmishes and a smaller period of dictatorship, but also huge progress and development, with Manuel Roxas becoming the first president of the Independent Republic of the Philippines. The United States seceded its sovereignty over the Philippines on July 4th, 1946, as scheduled. However, the Philippine economy remained highly dependent on United States markets. Roxas died suddenly of a heart attack in April 1948, and the Vice President Elpidio Quirino ruled the country until 1953. Some communist partisans existed in the islands, but were defeated in the 50s. Additionally, an important event happened in the middle of the 1960s. Ferdinand Marcos took power in 1965 and ruled until 1986. This era included the final years of the Third Republic from 1965 to 1972, and the Philippines under martial law 1972 to 1981. His reign was marked by dictatorship and instability. In 1986, Ferdinand Marcos was removed from power and replaced by Maria Corazon Aquino. Up to the present day, 5 other presidents ruled the Philippines.
All right. too much for me.
Right, and we thought Geographic Now was quick with a lot of stuff, but this is like they throw everything at you. Like the number, they go. How many years did we skip?
Yeah, from 6000 to 2000 BC, and it's like.
Hello, Chris.
All right, so a lot of influences.
Especially the first part, I didn't know at all. Like it isn't
Nothing.
common knowledge, or at least
pretty much nothing.
we haven't seen that in other videos because most of my knowledge that I do have is all from the videos we have seen before. So the things like the first part, like the Hinduism from India and that stuff, I didn't know. Even the Islam coming all the way through, I didn't know from the Ottoman Empire. And
Yeah, it made sense. The Islam from Brunei, maybe,
Yeah.
but from the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah.
And also the Buddhist and Hindu influences. You know, in other countries, you still see something like some temples and stuff, but I haven't seen any of that in the Philippines. Buddhist or Hindu temples, or are there Buddhist or Hindu people in the Philippines?
not now, no, I don't know. Not that I know
No, okay.
words, but also I haven't been into everywhere, so that maybe explains some bits.
Yeah,
Why-
plenty of islands to still to discover.
I do know like 90% and up is Catholic, so
Yeah,
maybe explains like the 10%.
makes sense.
And I
Because of
mean,
the recent years with Spain and
Yeah.
US.
And Mindanao is like the mostly of the 10% Islam,
Yeah.
or some parts of percentage. Well, I did learn a lot, but I also will forget a lot because
Yeah.
this is
Maybe with multiple choice, I still remember some stuff, but
if I do a quiz
ask
on
me
you,
the names. Ask me the names.
it's gonna be tough.
It's gonna be a tough one.
Yeah.
And the years as well. It went by so fast.
Yeah.
He was throwing in numbers in there.
Yeah, it is nice though that he like the last bit where we did know some stuff from the other reactions, then it all pieces together and
Yeah,
then you know,
true.
oh yeah, I know this or I know that.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting part. But then again, I like it. It's a whole lot of info, and you know, kudos to the guy who made it. Probably done a lot of research to make this.
It's more for advanced kind of
Yeah.
history lesson for people who already know a bit about the Philippines.
And like always, I'll just leave the link below so you can maybe watch stuff of him. And I see in the thumbnail that he has more, so I'll probably give him I don't know his channel. One sec.
Okay.
Knowledge,
yeah.
There you go. But thanks again for watching, and hopefully see you the next time.
Yeah.
Deuces.
Ciao.